And what we will do and are doing already is making preparations for the possibility that down the pike, down the line, we may need to modify and upgrade the vaccines. We don't need to do that right now. The best way to prevent the further evolution of these mutants is to vaccinate as many people as possible with the vaccines that we have currently available to us. That's the best protection against this evolution.
And masking,
I want to get to that
of
in a
course.
second, but just to clarify, the Biden administration says in its new plan it wants to increase surveillance and sequencing of viruses. Basically, do more research to figure out what's actually swirling
Out there,
around in
really.
the population. Do we know for a fact that the South African strain, B1351, is not in the United States right now?
I can't say definitively, Margaret, that we know as a fact. What has been looked at thus far, it has not come up on any of the surveillance, but we need to expand greatly our genomic surveillance. We know that. It had not been at the level that we would have liked, but there's a lot of movement right now at the CDC level, including some input from the NIH and other organizations to dramatically increase the what we call genomic surveillance.
So we don't know yet. On the
It
vaccines.
is unlikely, but we can say definitively.
Understood.
That's
On
why
the
we need to shut
vaccines,
down
just
air
on
travel.
that point of how important it is to get this out there, I want to play some tape here for you and get you to clarify when U.S. taxpayers can expect to get their vaccine.
At least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first 100 days.
You know the goal that's been set, which I believe is entirely
I think they already met that
achievable,
goal, right?
is to have 100 million people vaccinated in the first 100 days.
I doubt that's happened.
Primary and boost. Yes.
Primary and
boost.
boost
Yeah.
in 100 days.
Yes, yes.
So, Doctor, in that exchange, you seem to be promising a bit more than the president is. Can you just bottom line it? How many people will be fully vaccinated within 100 days?
Yeah, so let me clarify that because there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. What we're talking about is 100 million shots in individuals. So shots, as in other words, when you get down to, let's say, a certain part of the 100 days, at the end of 100 days, you're going to have some people who will have gotten both shots and some will still be on their first shots. But the president is saying 100 million shots in the arms of people within 100 days.
So reportedly, the transition team projections are that that's more like 67 million people by April, by the end of 100 days. Is that an accurate number?
Right. Yeah, that is, well, I haven't done the math myself, but it sounds very much like the accurate number where you're having people who will have gotten 2 doses and then some that are still on their first dose. When you add them all up and you look at shots, it's 100 million shots in the arms of people within the first 100 days.
Okay, so the Trump administration's Health and Human Services Secretary said on this program in December that just with Pfizer and Moderna's vaccine, they could get to 100 million shots by the end of February. President Biden's goal puts that benchmark out in April. Are you deliberately setting expectations low?
No, that's not the case. If you go back and look at the facts of actually what had been done in the first 38 days, I believe, that in the former administration, I think maybe 2 out of those days had reached 100 million, and the average along that period of time was about 450,000 per day. This is hard. Now, what we've got to realize that although more recently there have been a couple of days where you've had 1 million, that has been predominantly in areas that are relatively easy from the standpoint of getting it done in a nursing home or in a situation in a hospital setting. If you look forward with the challenges that we'll be having, getting it out into the community that is not easily accessible, getting it to people that are not uniform in the sense of being healthcare providers or people in nursing homes, I still think that that challenge is really, first of all, it's going to be a floor, not a ceiling. It's not going to be easy to do that. I think there is this misperception out there, Margaret, because we've hit 1 million a day for a couple of days, that when we get out into the community, it's going to be really easy to do that. That's not the case. It is going to be a challenge. I think it was a reasonable goal that was set. We always want to do better than the goal you've set, but it is really a floor and not a ceiling. The most important thing, the message that gets lost in this back and forth, Margaret, is that we've got to vaccinate as many people as we possibly can, as quickly as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
And that's what President Biden made as the point. I mean, that was the major point that he was making.
Understood. And we just
Move heaven and earth to get her
I
done.
want to ask you, as you know, we spoke to your former colleague, Dr. Burks, on Friday for this program.
Former. She's not there no more?
That, yes, we're attached to President Trump, but go far beyond that. Deep problems within the healthcare infrastructure of this country that will contribute to continued problems. Do you think there needs to be a 9/11 type commission to look at what went wrong?
Well, I'm not, Margaret, it's not up to me to say that. I think we really do. I mean, whether you want to call it a 9/11 commission, but we really need to look into some of the deficiencies in our healthcare systems at the local level. One of the things that I believe I had mentioned to you in a previous appearance here, Margaret, that I felt we should do much better is a greater collaboration and coordination between the federal government and the local, the state.
Yes.
We've got to do that in a coordinated way instead of just telling the states, you're on your own, do it on your own.
Okay.
That clearly does not work
Nope.
very well.
Doesn't work.
Dr. Fauci, thank you for joining us.